Hare Krishna Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so very much, Mukunda and Kanchan. So thank you for the wonderful kirtan. Now we will go for the, as usual, Bhagavad Gita class. So Ajit Krishna Prabhu has already joined. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining today's class. And so far we did, like chanting, one round of chanting, and then followed with the kirtan. So yeah, so handing over to you to take over for that, we can go for the last class, what we had done for revision, and then we can go for the as usual class. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. All right. So did you want to do any, there wasn't any recap from last time, because I think we just, you all just discussed Bhagavad Gita, right? I mean, so, right? So we'll just move ahead
Okay.
from where we had left off, which was, we had done verses 23 and 24.
Yeah, so let me pull that I'll share the screen.
Yeah. You're pulling that up? Okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. Okay.
So we can start with 24.
Yeah. Verse number 24. Okay. Yeah, we can go for 24. So anybody would like to go? Who are the kids today? So
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
25, then 23, 24, we're done already.
25. Yeah,
Yes.
25.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Mitra Benda Mataji, please go ahead.
May I, Prabhu?
Yeah, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Daivam eva pare yajnam. Yogina pare upashtate.
Yogina paripasate.
Brahmagna vapure yajnam.
Brahmagya vapare yajnam.
Yajne navo pajahuvati.
Yagneva pajavati.
Am I reading the translation also, Prabhu?
Yeah, Mataji, will read the translation.
Thank you. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman.
Very well. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. Text number 26. So, would like to go? Mukund has raised the hand. Yeah, Mukund. Go ahead, please. Srotra, by breaking, yeah. Srotanindriyan Anye
Samyamagnishu juhvati
Samyamagnishu
Shabadadin Vishayananya
Sabdadina Visayan Anya
Indriyagneshu juhvati.
Indriyagnisvati.
Translation. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process and the sense in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulative householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses.
Haribol. Thank you, Mukund, for reading. Text number 27. So, would you like to go? Anybody? Volunteer? Yeah, Jagnes Prabhu, go ahead, please.
Sarvanindriyani karmani prana karmani cha
Breaking, by breaking.
Oh, sorry, Prabhu. Yeah. Sarvanindriya karmani
Sarvandriyani karmani
prana karmani cha pare
prana karmani chapare
atma samyamya yoga gnau
atma samyamya yogna
juvati jnana deepite.
Juvati jnana deepite. Haribol.
Translation, I'll go to Srila Prabhupada. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jaganas Prabhuji, for reading. So 25th, 26th, and 27th. So we'll go back again to 25th. Right, Jit Krishna Prabhuji?
Actually, we can do even 28, Prabhu, because the theme
28.
is the same for all of these verses.
Got it. Yeah. So let's go for text number 28.
28, yes, please.
Any volunteer, please? Tyagu Prabhuji, would you like to go? Narsimha Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Dravya yagyastapo yagya
Dravyayastapo yagya
Yagya.
yoga yagyastatha pare
yogyastatha pare
swadhyaya jnana yagyascha
swadhyaya
yataiha samsita vrata.
yataya sansrita vrata.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions and others by performing severe austerities. By practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for reading. So if anybody would like to go, then we can go for 25th, else we'll go for the discourse. So who can go?
There's no one, then I can go.
No, you have already done one. So yeah. So
Okay, Ji, I can go.
Yes, go ahead, Tyaguji, please.
go ahead, Tagore Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna Ji. Text 25. Daivam evapare yagnam
Daivam evapare yagna
yogina paryapaspate
yogina
Yagya.
brahmagnavapre yagnam
Brahmagyan vapare yagna
yagne naiva paruvati.
yagne naiva pajayati.
Translation. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the supreme Brahman. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Tagore Prabhuji, for reading.
Thank you, Ji.
Yeah, text number 26. Anybody other volunteer? Ratipriya Mataji. Okay,
I'll go.
okay, Mataji.
I'm so sorry, Prabhu. I'm actually changing diapers. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay. No problem, Mataji. So
Swotradinindriyani anye
Sota din indriyani anye
samiyamaga nisujuvati
samniyamani sujuvati
sabdadin visayan anya
sabdadin sayanya
indriyagni sujuvati.
indriyani sujuvati.
Translation. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Mataji. It's a really wonderful reading. Hare Krishna. So I think we can go ahead, Prabhuji, we can start the discourse.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's go ahead from text number 22. I will stop the sharing.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parinana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So before we proceed, Prabhuji, we have Mataji. I believe she's first time here, so let's welcome her by chanting one round.
Yes, I
Hare
have
Krishna.
invited Mataji tonight
To
to the Sangha.
Yeah, Mataji. So can we see you? Can we take your darshan and we'll chant one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Let's chant. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have, what's your name, proper name, Mataji? Goirlete Gordeski, Mataji, right? Am I pronouncing correctly, or you can pronounce yourself? So welcome you to this, Bhakti Briksha Bhagavad Gita class, and we do every Friday. So please do join every Friday. And we are really wonderful to have you on our association. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. My name is Gillette. Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, Prabhuji, please go ahead. Thank you.
Welcome, Gulet Mataji. Very nice to have you with us on the Zoom Sangha here. It's nice. I mean, we are able to leverage technology here and associate with devotees who are sitting in far-flung places. I mean, myself and Tyagu Prabhu, we are in Atlanta. I know most of the devotees are in the Philadelphia area. Narasimhan Prabhu is in Canada. So we've got quite the representation here, global representation. And where are you located, Mataji?
I'm sorry. I am in Wayne, Pennsylvania, which is about 40 minutes from Philadelphia.
Got it. So you're basically in the same, at least the same vicinity as Muktasanga Prabhu and all the others, Ramcham Prabhu and others.
Yes, I am.
And Hare Krishna and Mitravrinda Mataji too. Haven't had the honor of your association in the past, but very happy to offer my obeisance to you as well.
Dandavat pranams, Prabhu, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for exhibiting such wonderful aspects of etiquette in bhakti as Vaishnava practice, which is not often or often enough expressed or exampled. And that's not a criticism. I just appreciate your mood. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your kind words, Mataji. So welcome, and we'll move ahead with the discussion. So text 25 onward. So we'd gone through 23 and 24 last time. I'll just repeat 25 to get us started. So Devam eva pare yagnam yogina paryupasate brahm agnau apare yagnam yagnen eva upajuvati. So here Krishna is starting to describe the process of yoga that is followed by, or some of the different processes of yoga other than bhakti yoga. And the focus here pretty much is on the process of Ashtanga yoga. So in the translation, Prabhupada describes some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Essentially, and we read through text 27 and 28, basically verses 25 to 33, in those 9 verses, Krishna is explaining that transcendental knowledge can be obtained through sacrifices as well. Now, the topic that we're discussing, or this chapter 4 is as the Bhagavad Gita says, it's the chapter on transcendental knowledge. So Krishna is describing to us a few things. One, what is the significance of transcendental knowledge? What does it mean, and what does it do for us? That's the first thing. And the second thing he's describing is the process, the different processes for acquiring transcendental knowledge. There's not just one process for acquiring transcendental knowledge. And so he's elaborating a little bit on what some of the other processes are. And that's where we are at today. So as I was saying, verses 25 to 33, and I didn't want to go through all of them because it would be a lot to cover in just about 30 to 45 minutes. But 25 to 33, all of them focus on acquiring transcendental knowledge through sacrifices. And sacrifices are essential. And they are essential because the Vedas describe different types of sacrifices, but the goal of each of those sacrifices is to understand Krishna through the acquisition of transcendental knowledge. So the question arises, why are there so many different processes or so many different sacrifices described in the Vedas? When the goal is the same, why are there so many different practices? Why not just make it simple, harmonize everything, and just have one set of practices or one set of sacrifices? The reason for that is the Vedas are scientifically designed and given to us by the Supreme Lord himself to allow people in different consciousnesses to advance further in spiritual knowledge such that they can reach the highest level of spiritual knowledge. So not everybody is at the same level of spiritual consciousness. But Krishna is so kind. Through the Vedas, he's given appropriate instructions for people depending on their level of spiritual consciousness, depending on, if we want to go a little bit deeper, depending on what kind of modes they are under. So simply put, different people have different levels of spiritual consciousness. But the Lord is equally kind to everyone. He wants everyone to come to the highest level. Now, in order to get everyone to the highest level, he has very kindly provided the Vedas, which have different sacrifices which are appropriate for people at different levels. And so a person can follow the practice that is appropriate for his or her level, but they can rest assured at the end of one set of practices, they will be elevated such that they will have a desire and capability of engaging in the next higher set of practices and sacrifices, which will advance or which will help them advance even further. So it's a structured step-by-step process that is laid out in the Vedas. So Vedas are like a roadmap for helping people advance to the highest level of spiritual understanding. So in text 25, Krishna says, some. Notice the word some. He says some yogis. This is not all yogis. He's talking about a certain section, depending on their level of advancements. He says some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahma. So he's touched upon two different levels of spiritual advancement here. Some yogis who are attached to worshiping demigods. And there are different sacrifices prescribed for different demigods. So if somebody is inclined to worship demigods, if their faith is such that they believe that they will make spiritual advancement if they worship demigods, if they consider them to be the ultimate goal, that's fine. That's fine. By performing appropriate sacrifices to them as described here, they will advance to the next level. And so Krishna also described that some others offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So the Supreme Brahman, or the latter type of yogis that he's describing who believe in the Supreme Brahman, are those who are at the level of impersonal understanding. They believe that the Supreme Lord is impersonal, so they offer sacrifices to the Supreme Brahman. So it's interesting that the Lord is so kind that he's not partial, or he's not biased. He wants everybody to advance. And he says, if somebody's level of advancement is only up to the point of demigod worship, that's fine. Here are the recommended sacrifices for them. Let them do those, let them follow those sacrifices. They will eventually come to the point where they will ask further and say that, well, I worship so-and-so demigod, but there are so many others as well. And there's a natural curiosity that comes into a person's mind. They start thinking, okay, why don't I offer sacrifices to the other demigod or demigods? And then they start naturally thinking, well, there must be somebody who's higher than the demigods too. Because over time, when they offer sacrifices to demigods, they also realize that the demigods themselves are offering sacrifices. And so they realize that there is a supreme person, the supreme personality of Godhead that is above them. So it's a process of gradually elevating everyone. The Lord does not consider anyone to be disqualified. Why does the Lord consider everyone to be qualified and nobody to be disqualified from approaching him? Why is that? And I'll just open this question up to you. Anybody wants to take a stab at it? Anyone wants to answer that question? Excuse me.
Prabhuji, please repeat the question once more so that.
The question, Prabhu, is that why does the Lord consider everyone as deserving to make spiritual advancement? Why doesn't he disqualify anyone? Why doesn't he say that, no, you're not qualified or you're not qualified? Why does he make the Vedas available in so many different varieties to appeal to so many different people? Why does he do that?
Yeah, I will request Devotee to go ahead. Mitra Binda Mataji, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Because we belong with him, because Krishna loves us, because Krishna has, as we see in so many ways, gives us so many wonderful aspects of his mercy, but these opportunities to come back, to connect, to get to know, to establish that relationship on a deeper level based on the soul, because we are part and parcel. He wants us closer. He gives us free will to go away, but he desires that we want to love and serve him, but it's never a force. Never force, because bhakti is never based on force. So it's just the supreme aspect of mercy. We hear love, we hear mercy in the world, but Krishna always exemplifies it. And for myself, as a person who was raised in Christianity, and I do interfaith work, and I'm also a chaplain, it literally blows my mind to hear and read of Krishna's love, so advanced and so wonderful, that in this path of bhakti, he gives us free will. Everyone else wants to control. Every man, every society, every group, there's control. But there's only one, it's Ishvara. And he chooses not to control us. He wants us to love him freely. So the mercy is vast. Thank you for asking this question, Prabhu.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful answer, Mataji, and for sharing not only your realizations, but also your experiences and a little bit more about yourself. I mean, it's intriguing that you engage in interfaith work. I've done a little bit of that, but it's the kind of topic that, I mean, I'd love to discuss a little bit more with you offline as well. It's wonderful because it helps us. There's something you said that I couldn't believe or that I can't agree with more, which is you said it blows your mind how merciful Krishna is. And that's exactly, I mean, the message that he's sending here. We read in the scriptures that there are 400,000 different types of human beings, depending on their level of spiritual advancement. 400,000 different types of human beings. And the Lord is so kind. Each one of us, like you said, is a part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna wants each one of us to come back to him. He is our supreme father. We are his lost children, wandering around this material world, suffering because we don't have, or we haven't yet revived our full love for Krishna, our dormant love for Krishna. And he wants each one of us to come back. We are each one of us is equally his child. And so he's kind of made such a wonderful arrangement. He's saying, out of the 400,000 different types of human beings that are there, I want each one of you to come back. I love each one of you equally. It's so merciful and so kind of Krishna to do that for us. So extending this thought further, when we look at text 26, in text 26, Krishna then goes on to a brief description of.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes,
So I just wanted to contribute in myself also. Mitravanda Mataji told very nicely, very detailed. So I may not able to cover that much, but for my purification, I want to say, like, why does Lord wants to do us devotion? Because our constitutional position, Mataji already said, we belong to Krishna. So our constitutional position is to attain Krishna. Means we have tendency, or we are part and parcel of the Krishna. Mame vanso jivaloko jivbhuta sanatana. So that's what our tendency is, to go back to home, back to Godhead. So by somehow coming into the material contact, we are entangled into that, and we turn the face out of the Krishna. So that's what our main tendency is to do the devotional service. So that's what I want to say.
How was the program? Good?
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay. So we'll continue further. So in text 26, oh, sorry, I don't know if anybody else had any other comments. I don't see any other hands, so I think we'll move ahead. All right. So in text 26, then Krishna refers specifically to the Varnashram system. And here he mentions about the brahmacharis. And in text 26, that is. And then in 27, I was just trying to find some specific words here that I wanted to kind of highlight. But anyway, he talks about the brahmacharis in verse 26, and then also describes what some of the recommendations are in the Vedas for the brahmacharis, and then there are others for the grahasthas, others and still others for the sannyasis, and obviously different recommendations for the vanaprasthas. So despite there being 400,000 different types of human beings, they can still be slotted into these 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. So that's why Krishna kind of condenses his earlier thought of reaching out to all living entities by condensing them into the 4 varnas and the 4 ashrams. So he says, regardless of what type you are, what type of the 400,000 you are, you can fit into one of these 4 varnas and one of the 4 ashrams. And according to where you fit in this matrix, it's a 4x4. Depending on where you fit in this, there are certain sacrifices that will help you advance most efficiently. There's no point. So if you think about a 4x4 grid, so there are 16 boxes there. If you're in box number 6, what the person in box number 4 should be doing is not appropriate for the person in box number 6. And that's why, so here Krishna has just simply touched upon this piece here for the brahmacharis. And he says, the unadulterated brahmacharis. So even amongst brahmacharis, there are different categories. And some of us who are familiar with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was the topmost level of brahmacharis. So anyway, so here Krishna says, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So the idea is that regardless of which varna and ashram you're in, there are certain sacrifices that you're meant to perform or that are recommended for you. They'll help you make spiritual advancement. So coming down to everyday life, some of the sacrifices, like most of us here are part of the, or we are householders. And they say that the regulated householders sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So there are certain sacrifices that we perform on a daily basis. One of which is eating Krishna Prasad. That is of course, that applies to, that one's common across all 4. I mean, brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. And the idea is that, as Krishna says in 3:13, Yagna Shishtasana Santo Muchante Sarvakil Vishe Bhunyate Te Tvadham Papa Ye Pachanti Atmakarma. So the idea of eating Krishna Prasad is that it purifies our tongue. And when the tongue is purified, the tongue is the starting point, or is the central sense of all of the different senses that we have. If the tongue is controlled, all of the senses are controlled. And so to control the sense, to control the tongue, Krishna recommends eating Krishna Prasad. And that is a sacrifice that the householders perform. Why is it a sacrifice? Why is this considered a sacrifice? Let's have others kind of share their thoughts as well. Why is eating Krishna Prasad considered a sacrifice?
Yeah, Hare Krishna devotees. Yeah, Narsimha Prabhu is having thoughts. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Is it because naturally, like because of being in contact with material nature, the tongue wants to relish or enjoy, the material world. So this tendency is being curbed by only accepting Krishna Prasadam.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because you are exercising sense control. There are so many other temptations that the tongue could engage in. And so in order to resist those temptations and only partake in Krishna Prasad, it takes effort and it takes discipline. And so that's why it's considered a sacrifice, but it's well worth it because then it helps us advance even faster on the spiritual path. So this was...
Mukund Prabhu.
Oh, go ahead, Mukund Prabhu. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
I think that eating prasadam is also a sacrifice because when we eat prasadam, we eliminate our sins from our karma, and when we do a sacrifice, we also eliminate our sins from our karma. So that's why we get purified while eating prasadam. So that's why maybe it's a sacrifice in that way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mukunda, indeed. That's a very, very good answer. And especially given your young age, you have a very good understanding of all of this. So very commendable. And credit goes to your parents as well. So, all right. So moving ahead. In the purport, then Prabhupada describes how one of the fundamental sacrifices that we perform in order to make spiritual advancement is hearing and chanting, Shravanam and Kirtanam, because that allows our tongue and ears to be engaged in hearing the sound vibration of the holy name. And again, so this kind of the significance of hearing and chanting can never be emphasized enough. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 9 processes of devotional service are described. Prahlad Maharaj describes the potency of Shravanam and Kirtanam. Then in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this has been explained even further. And Krishna says that actually in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada describes that the process of being connected through devotees to hearing and chanting is a very fortunate circumstance. And the exact verse is Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyamana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. That in this world, Brahmande, Brahman means in this creation, Brahmite means people are wandering. Kono Bhagyamana Jeev. He says in this creation, there are so many universes, and in each universe, there are so many living entities. And people are just wandering from one universe to the next, to the next, to the next, depending on their karma in a particular life. But amongst so many living entities that are wandering from one universe to the other, there are just a few selected fortunate people. Brahmane Brahmite Kono Bhagyamana Jeev. There are only a few that are very fortunate. And why are they fortunate? Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. That they somehow or the other, due to good fortune, they come in contact with the process of hearing and chanting. And this process of hearing and chanting is like the sowing of a seed. And what seed is being sown? It's the seed of devotional service. So the process of devotional service, the process of serving God, the process of loving God is likened to the analogy used as it's like a creeper. So you sow the seed in the soil, and then you start, what's the next step? We start watering the soil. As you water the soil on a regular basis, the seed sprouts and it becomes a tiny little plant. Then you keep watering, the plant keeps growing. And the more you water it, the more consistent you are with it, the plant will keep growing. This plant of devotional service is considered like a creeper, and it eventually, through the process of watering, which is hearing and chanting, the creeper keeps growing. Or in other words, when we engage in hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord, which right in the beginning, when we chanted the Hare Krishna mantra to welcome our new guests, that's the sound vibration that is the hearing and chanting process. And this is akin to watering the seed or the creeper or the plant of devotional service. As we regularly hear and chant the holy names of the Lord, our devotional service keeps growing. Or this creeper, the analogy is that the creeper keeps growing, and eventually it goes into the spiritual world. It reaches the spiritual world. So our devotional service takes us to the spiritual world. And even when we reach the spiritual world, our devotional progress continues through this hearing and chanting, hearing and chanting, hearing and chanting. This is a constant process. And what do we hear and chant? We glorify, we chant the glories of the Lord, and we hear those glories. And this is such a potent combination, hearing about the Lord and chanting about the Lord, glorifying the Lord. It's such a potent combination that it is guaranteed to help us make spiritual advancement, to the point that when this creeper reaches the spiritual world, it finds shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then it starts producing fruit and flowers. That symbolizes the sprouting of fruits and flowers from this creeper, symbolizes our perfection or complete absorption in love for the Supreme Lord. And at that point, material considerations, mundane attachments, all of those are nullified. All of those are eradicated from our heart, and our hearts are completely surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So that's the potency, that's the power of hearing and chanting. So it's about 8:53 to wrap up quickly. Texts 25, 26, 27, and 28 that we read today give us further examples of how we can advance our devotional service, how there are different recommendations in the Vedas for people at different levels of spiritual advancement. And the idea is that nobody is disqualified from making spiritual advancement. Everybody can make spiritual advancement by following an appropriate process. However, what we follow, meaning the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, reading Bhagavad Gita, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the scriptures, etc. This process is considered the most efficient in this age. It's not the only process, but it's the most efficient process, because the sound vibration comes from the spiritual world, and the scriptures describe that by engaging our tongue and ears in hearing and chanting, the rest of our senses are also purified, and therefore it allows us to make rapid spiritual advancement. Instead of waiting lifetimes to reach a certain point of spiritual advancement, this process allows us to reach the desired destination in one lifetime itself. So that's kind of how efficient and how potent this process is. And we'll discuss further as we go along next week, perhaps. So at this point, I'll just open it up for questions, comments, share your thoughts and realizations, please, if you would. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So as Prabhuji asked, like the last one, and as well for the complete also, you can go ahead with the comment. And last question, Prabhuji asked that, like how to advance in devotion, and or how to advance spiritually. So if you have any thought, please go ahead with that. I see we have today Vatsala Mataji as well.
Welcome back, Mataji. Good to see you after a few weeks.
So anybody would like to go?
Thank you, Prabhu.
How to advance in devotion? Yeah, Prabhu, as you were already saying, first we were debating on the Krishna Prasadam. So that's a very important thing. Prabhupada said, like, by those who are new, just give the prasadam. By eating the prasadam only, they will slowly come to the Krishna consciousness, and then they will do the all, devotional, as you mentioned, ninefold devotional services. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Asmanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So important one, as we are now doing the sadhu sangha, so association of devotee. So this is first and most important, and from here we get all encouragement, all in the association discussion debate, so that by this way we can advance. Like sadhu sangha sarva shastra ka hai, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai. So this is the good platform where we can, whatever the doubt we have in the spiritually, we can discuss among ourselves, we can enlighten ourselves, and we can, we can act accordingly. And as you already said, like hearing about the Lord and glorifying, so chanting is important. 99% of Prabhupada said depends upon the chanting, how offenselessly we chant, and avoid the blasphemy of the devotee. I will not take much time. So Mitra Binda Mataji is having hand raised, and Mukund. So first Mitra Binda Mataji, then Mukund. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Ramshan Prabhu. And thank you for giving that very detailed itemization of the processes, which is essential in, coming closer, right? I have a, I choose, and it's also because my nature is on the simpler side, but the processes are very essential in understanding and making decisions to do those steps. My thought is that one of the things that's essential is to be committed. So in the aspects of devotion, like anything one is devoted to, it absolutely requires a level of commitment, that commitment which helps you move forward, even in the face of difficulty, or at times when you feel like you don't have the strength to, perform maybe some of the processes, or something distracts you, you're committed. It's like, when someone's committed, they stay, they stick, they hold on, they go through fire, whatever is in the way to move forward to the goal. So when I think about the process of bhakti and aspects of the process, I immediately think of commitment. One's committing to doing these processes to get to the goal on the other side of understanding and growing deeper in one's love for Krishna, and the practices help us do that. And there are rules and processes to it, but we should never make the rules and the processes bigger than the love, which is on the other side. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, wonderful, Mataji. That's a great thought. And if I may, I just wanted to ask you a follow-on question, or to elaborate your thought on this a little bit. What helps the commitment become stronger? Because a lot of times people waver, and their commitment, which may have been strong when they started out, but as they face challenges in devotion life or in life in general, sometimes the commitment can waver. So how would you, or what would you recommend to keep the commitment going strong, which is, I think, very essential for all of us?
My view on that would be to be aware, be attentive, because when we're aware and attentive, we can see beyond the struggle. And we also see, as we're talking about Krishna, but I mean, it's there in the commitment, for example, a mother, when she becomes impregnated, she's committed to following through. And I mean, I know we're in the material world. There are some instances and political hotbeds of when
Right.
some people are not ready to follow through, right? But we're talking about commitment and the other aspect of love that comes from that commitment and time in the process. So 9 months, she must wait. She must be in discomfort. And the best scenario, she has a husband who's loving and kind, caring, and a devotional husband who understands the processes. And every step that goes along with that adds to it. So it's understanding the mercy behind and I'll just call them breadcrumbs that Krishna leaves us to show that you're not destitute. You're not alone. It may be difficult right now, but here, look. And then you go, oh, Krishna, there's something. Krishna gives us things all the time that help us remember him and help us go, I can do this. Or thank you, Krishna. Prasadam is prasadam. We use this word, kind of lightly, but prasadam means mercy. So it's Krishna's mercy that the sun shines. It's Krishna's mercy that it rains. It's Krishna's mercy that there's oxygen to breathe. It's Krishna's mercy that we have the care, guidance, and love of gurus, of sadhus, of friends, of people who are on the path, helping us and encouraging us. So Mother Vatsala, I love her dearly because she gave me strength to continue in a hurtful period. And she always is giving me hugs, and she's like my children's devotee grandmother, and she's strong and she's affectionate. Her name is Vatsala. So this is mercy. All these things are mercy. And, all the people that are in our lives that help us remember Krishna, and sometimes those who put us in difficulty, whether they're intending to or not. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anandira Dear Govinda Sarva Karanam Krishna. Ishvara is the controller, none other. So everything, whether it's making us cry or making us laugh or making us shake our head in disbelief that's based on faith, that yes, Krishna, you're here for me. And when I see your form, when I taste foodstuffs that's been cooked and offered to you, and I go, it's not even like from this planet. I am experiencing your love. So being committed, even though there are hard times or good times or neutral times, and to be attentive to the breadcrumbs of mercy that Krishna scatters all around us. This association, this class, that helps me stay committed, even in the darkest, times or in the brightest of sunlight. Thank you for asking the question, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I don't talk very much in anything generally, unless I'm giving a class outside of the Sangha of devotees, because I do have an opportunity to speak to new people, and I adore it. And it was arranged by my guru and Srila Prabhupada in one of my darkest hours, that when my services were taken away, that it opened up a whole new door of me talking to literally thousands of people about Krishna who never heard his name before. So I appreciate you jogging my mind on this and my heart. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhuri, thank you so much for sharing that, because you're not alone. Every one of us goes through times when all kinds of things happen. Services are taken away, or things are modified, or your life kind of goes through all kinds of ups and downs. I mean, that's just the nature of the material world. I think you summarized it very well, that as long as a person is attentive to the breadcrumbs that they see, or if I were to use another word or phrase, I would just say, as long as we have gratitude, we can see things. When we don't have gratitude, we see nothing. But when we have gratitude, we see so many examples of Krishna's mercy, and you, I think, described a lot of them so beautifully. So it's gratitude. Well, to me, I mean, it's just gratitude that keeps us realizing and keeps that realization fresh, actually, that Krishna is always there, always taking care, always showing us the way, even though things may not go the way we expected or we wanted them to, but he always has a better plan. So as long as we stay committed to the path, the Lord will take care. Thank you so much, Mataji. It was very, very inspiring to hear what you just said. Anybody else? Other thoughts, comments, questions, realizations you want to share?
I think Mukund is having, so he'll go ahead. Before that, I wanted to just, say, comment to Mataji so nicely, so sweetly. She, explained and answered the answer of the question. And it was really, she's having so strong faith for the Krishna. Like, Krishna is the controller. Without him, nothing can shake even, and even the food has been offered to Krishna. So all the taste and everything comes from Krishna. And so it was really wonderful, Mataji. So I was so mesmerizing hearing the way you were explaining. So it was really wonderful to hear from you. Hare Krishna. Mukund, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So one way that I was thinking about on how we can get more Krishna consciousness is from, like Krishna said this in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, verse 34, I guess. Tad vidhi panipatena pariprasnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanina sattva darshana. And then this is like the translation in my own words. O learned one, to so there's one part in the translation which says that if you want to get knowledge, if you want to see the truth, then you go to a spiritual master or a self-realized soul, and you go and ask him submissive inquiries and do his service, and the self-realized soul will surely impart their knowledge onto you. So that was just one way that I was thinking on how we can get Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, very nice, Mukunda. One, it's great that you know the verse 434 so well. And the other thing is that you understood that it is Krishna's mercy that he gives us the association of a guru from whom we can get transcendental knowledge. Excellent. Thank you so much, Mukunda Prabhu, for sharing that with us. Any other thoughts, comments?
Narasimha Prabhu,
Thank you very much, Prabhu. This is
Yes,
Vatsa
Mataji.
Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, Mitra is always kind to me, I have been like her mother as your older sister. So she has been very gracious, very kind to me. But Krishna is always kind to me, even though he gives little, issues here and there. Sorry, I couldn't attend a lot of things for some time. But I think Krishna took care of a lot of things for me. I'm living because of his grace alone. So I think, I'm fortunate to have your association.
Likewise, Mataji, the
Yeah,
feeling
thank you. Yeah,
feeling mutual.
thank you very much. So, hopefully I can keep joining your Friday classes again. Hopefully. I was missing it anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. We are all alive, believe me, only because of Krishna's mercy.
Right, Prabhu. Thank you so
All
much.
have issues.
Yeah. Good to
Narasimha
see you
Prabhu,
all.
good to see you too, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
And Narasimha Prabhuji, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the class. It was really nice to hear that how you mentioned that Shravanam and Kirtanam is something that also continues in the spiritual world. And it just reminded me of one verse I was reading of Srila Prabodhanand Saraswati, where he mentions that in Gauranga Leela, even though Gauranga Leela is known as Audarya, so even the souls of this material world are given a chance to serve the Lord. But when his associates descended from Golok Vrindavan, they experienced even higher happiness than what they feel in serving the Lord there because of the Kirtan Rasa that took place here. So thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for sharing that thought with us and reminding us about Gora Leela. It's always inspiring to hear these sorts of things. So very wonderful. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
So I think we are done. Mukunda, still your hand is raised. Still you have point or you,
That was from before.
okay, nice. So I think we are good, Prabhu. So thank you so much. It was a really wonderful session today, and as usual, and we understood about the sacrifices in a different way, and why it is required to do demigod worship. Even Krishna said everything comes from him, he grants those things. So it was a wonderful class today overall. So yeah, yeah, finally, if you have any point, we can do that. Otherwise we can wrap up. Hare Krishna.
All right, Prabhuji, thank you all very much.
Patitanam Pavaneva Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnavin ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Ajit Krishna
Thank
Prabhu
you.
ki jai.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hare
all.
Krishna, everybody.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare
Take care.
Krishna.